Hi, I'm Dr. Tracy Shroyer, a career positioning strategist, professor, and someone who spent a lot of time thinking about what it really means to grow in a world that just won't stop changing. Welcome to the Technically Human podcast. This podcast is about navigating your career, your identity, and your next chapter in a world that's shaped by AI, technology, and constant change. Here, we're going to talk about real stuff. We're going to talk about career pivots, uncertainty, reinvention, and mostly how to stay grounded in who you are while everything around you evolves. Are you ready to go? Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of the Technically Human podcast. I am super excited. I am joined today with Russell van Brocklen. So, Russell, thank you for joining me. I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me.
Russell is known as the Dyslexia Professor, and he's going to blow your mind throughout this entire episode. And I'm super excited to get curious with him. Russell, if you can just give us some insight into what you do and how you got started on that journey.
This is the last thing I was supposed to do in my life. It was the late 90s. I wanted to find out how laws were made, not some class I wanted to know. So I signed up for the New York State Assembly internship program. Now, just imagine, because just so everybody knows, you're a real PhD with a real dissertation. Okay. I want you to imagine you were confronted with this. I showed up with the assembly, but I had my neuropsychological evaluation, which showed that I had a first grade reading and writing level. Yeah, I couldn't do
Wow.
the internship the way it was designed. So it goes up to the speaker's office, and the speaker was Sheldon Silver, and he said, I don't care what this costs. You're going to accommodate the living heck out of this kid, and you're going to make it work. So they removed me from the legislative office building. They took me to the Capitol, with the Majority Leaders Program and Council's office that literally ran the assembly day to day. I walk in, there's 3 administrative assistants. I knew exactly why, because they could help me with my crappy writing. They accommodated the heck out of me, treated me like a grad student for the academic portion. Instead of the paper, I gave hours-long presentation with Q&A. Mind you, the professor in residence was a senior professor at Syracuse University. So they wrapped all that up, put an A- on it, and 15 credits of A-, and sent it back to the State University of New York Center at Buffalo's Political Science Department. They looked at these crazy accommodations, and they said, we don't like these, so we're lowering your grade. Guess what they lowered it to?
Did they lower it to a C?
15 credits of F.
What?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So then what I did is I said, I'm going to solve dyslexia so nobody else has to go through this, but I actually did. So what I did is I asked my professors, where can I go to force myself to learn to read and write in grad school? And they said, if you like politics, it's simple, law school. So I went to law school. Now, they use this thing called the Socratic method. If you don't know the answer, which nobody does the first week, they will keep asking you questions to embarrass you publicly until you eventually adopt. Sound familiar? The second day of contracts I was called on, the professor was a professor of law longer than I was alive at that point. But I didn't respond as, this is a key thing, very few people get this. I didn't respond as a student. I responded as his equal. He went after me, I answered, then I went after him. And I tried to rip him apart the way he was trying to rip me apart. I couldn't do it to him. He couldn't do it for me. I knew where he was going. He knew where I was going. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. He throws up his arm and said, Russell, you couldn't be any more correct. In the interest of time, I have to move on to the next case. Nobody ever heard of anything like that. I learned to read within a month. I learned to write within a couple of years. Then I went back to the New York State Senate and I said, I want you to fund my dyslexia research program, which they don't do. So they sent me to the education department, which said they wanted a SUNY distinguished professor in psychology, like the highest rank in the SUNY system. So I go out to Buffalo and there's 2 professors that meet that. One just happened to be the one that gave me the evaluation before. What she did is she tested me for 20 hours over 3 days. And she said, I tested this kid earlier, 6th grade reading, writing level. He turns the system on. It goes up to the 70th percentile of entering grad students. Turns off, it doesn't work. 6th grade, a 6-year-old, and it goes up to 70% grad student. Light switch. He's going from part of his brain that doesn't work to the part that does. Here's 5 pages explaining this. Goes back, then they want me to connect this to the current research. It was Professor James Collins' $1.5 million grant from the U.S. Education Department. He wrote a book called Strategies for Struggling Writers. Copying, visualization, and narrative were his 3 default strategies. I had to take his ideas and extend it from mild dyslexia to severe dyslexia and get him to approve it. Guess how long that took me?
I'm gonna guess a couple years. With
Less than
you,
2 weeks.
it's gonna be a lot quicker. Yeah.
So you're
Less than
noticing I'm
2 weeks.
doing
That is
really well in
impressive.
grad school.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to come back to that. So then that worked out. Whole bunch of stuff. I eventually get funding by the New York State Senate. It goes to the Averill Park Central School District, right outside of Albany, New York, our state capital. I want everybody to understand. I was not working with normal kids. I wanted to work with kids like me. Super motivated, super intelligent. Okay. These are high school juniors and seniors writing at the 7th grade to 8th grade level. A kid shows up to your university writing at the 8th grade level. Are they going to be around for long?
Probably not.
Yeah, they're flunked out.
Yeah.
So that's what these kids were. So then we gave them the graduate records analytical writing assessment test, and they generally scored in the 0 percentile. One class period a day for the school year, they increased to the 30th to 70th percentile. They all graduated from college, GPAs of 2.5 to 3.6, cost New
Wow.
York State taxpayers under $900. Landmark College was my biggest competitor then. This was the OOs, just so everybody knows. In 2013, they had a top professor come in. The police has completely changed, but this is the OOs. We were 3 times more successful than they were for less than 1% of the cost. We were under $900. They were over 100 grand. And that's how I got started.
Wow. Definitely already blew my mind. Wow.
Oh, now I'm going to actually tell you how to use. So just, like, how is that possible? This is the top book in my field. It's called Overcoming Dyslexia by Dr. Sally Shaywitz from Yale. That's dyslexia. See how the back part of your brain has this massive neural activity? See how the back part of mine has next to nothing?
Yes.
See how the front part of my brain has about 2.5 times your neural activity? That's why I did really well in grad school.
Okay.
This is based on word analysis followed by articulation. So now, everybody, you're afraid of AI. Just so you know my background, I got when ChatGPT came out with its $200 a month pro plan in December of 2024, I bought it that day. Literally, I produce a lot of written product. Right now, as we're speaking, I have 2 AI agents going over 2 separate books and doing massive changes. And I gave them enough work for an hour and a half each while I'm doing this. Okay. I'm literally about 13x the last I had it generally calculated of what you do. So I'm going to explain to you how what I've done with dyslexia can help you with this. Okay. So
Love it.
just, when I went back to New York City, I presented there in 2006, everything here. The professors didn't care I had these huge increases. They wanted a book called The Craft of Research. The Craft of what? It's a book designed that came out in 1995 by the University of Chicago to teach PhD students how to do their doctoral dissertations. It was based on context, unique problem statement, solution. So I'm going to first discuss context at an advanced level, which I'm going to combine with overcoming dyslexia using word analysis followed by articulation to give you an example how this can help you immediately focus your ideas. So, as with anything dyslectic, it's going to look like it's coming out of left field. All right. So, we're going to start off with a movie review. It'll make a lot of sense very shortly. So, I need you to tell me a movie that, in your opinion, that meets 3 criteria. You know it really well.
Okay.
You think it's one of the best movies of all time, and everybody has seen it. What's the name of that movie?
Wizard of Oz.
Are you talking about the one from the 30s?
Yes.
Okay. Now, just remind everybody again, you have a PhD. I'm going to ask you a hard question. I need you to reduce the Wizard of Oz from the 1930s to a 1-word universal theme that you think best represents it.
One word.
1 word only that best represents the entire movie. Something unique to you. Your insight.
I would say courage.
Courage. Okay. See how long that took you.
I was battling between two different things.
Yes, but I'm just saying, see how
Yeah.
long that took you. If you had a 13-year-old dyslexic that was really into The Wizard of Oz, again, I'm just pointing out there are advantages to being dyslexic. We're using the front part of the brain. You're now playing in my sandbox. That 13-year-old kid would do it almost instantly.
Okay.
Okay, so while the typical kindergarten through high school is all the back part of the brain and the dyslexic is looked at as not a good student, you get into grad school, it's freaking unfair as all heck. We can just see things that connect. Okay, so you said courage. Now, when we're going through and we're doing a proper movie review, you'd look at your favorite, the most consequential actors, and then you'd say, how did they do with the universal theme of courage? How did the director do? How did the screenwriter do? Then you'd write it up. People will decide if they want to see the movie or not. If they did, are enhancing their experience because they know what to look for and from whom, but you haven't ruined it by saying this happened and this happened. Okay. Here's the problem. This is why I'm spending all this time on this. Courage is such a broad universal theme. It's a broad brush. Great advertising back in the 90s when you just went on network and blasted it at everybody. But now we have to laser focus, and we can't do that with courage. So we have to fix that. So going back, I'm going to traumatize some of your audience very mildly. It's not long, but we're going to go back to high school English and study Shakespeare for a moment. Why? Because in communication in English, Shakespeare was the absolute apex, the top. Okay? So I want you to think back to any play in high school with Shakespeare. You'd have a hero. Hero would want to do something based on one or more universal themes. Then they would find an ultimate villain who would try to stop them, a character, a person, a concept, universal theme, some combination there too. They would try to stop the hero. They would have a conflict in Act 1, accelerate like crazy in Act 2, and resolve in Act 3. Sound familiar? Now, how do we simplify that and bring in our word analysis followed by articulation so you can actually use this, and then I can show you how to use AI with this, okay? So let's say we were going to write something on The Wizard of Oz. We could do this at the middle school level, high school, college, grad level, okay? What I would do you want me to explain this to you as for students or for adults who are looking for jobs?
I would say adults looking for jobs.
Okay, so good. We can now cheat because we're adults and we don't have to worry about all the academic restrictions. Most people use ChatGPT. If you're going to use that, 5.5 just dropped last week. You're going to want to spend the $20 a month. It's
Okay.
worth it. You want to go into pick latest model under configuration. You want thinking, and then you want to go to configure and extended thinking. They give you 3,000 a week. You're not going to run out, but it'll give you so much better answers. Why did I stop using the pro model in December of last year? Because I could get it to think for 5-10 minutes. I didn't need to spend $200 a month. I could do it for 20. I sent the 200 over towards Claude. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you do is then you ask, let's pick a hero for the Wizard of Oz. And then what does the hero want to do? Write me 20 paragraphs. And don't just go and do it. Okay. Make sure you agree with it, guide it until you get what you want. And then for each sentence, you want it to pick its most important word for each sentence. And then to write that out with a customized definition. Do that for everything. Then have AI tell ChatGPT or whatever one you're using, based on what the hero wants, what are the top 20 most important words? And then you as the human, pick it. You cannot lay that off to AI. This is individually unique to you. So now you pick that and you have the custom definition. Now we have the same problem we did with courage. It's a broad brush. We got to get much more specific. That's why I explained this entire process. Now we're going to, and if the kids, I'd have them go to a thesaurus. But for adults, I'm just going to say to the AI, give me 100 synonyms and custom definitions. And then what are the top 10 or the top 20 based on what the hero wants to do? You pick it. You want the word with a definition that best matches what's in your head. It's not going to be perfect. You may have to do this 5 or 6 times. Who cares? The AI is doing the work. Once you're done, you're going to have a word that's not exactly what's in your head, but very close. Now we can laser focus to pick the ultimate villain. I start off with characters and then eventually go to concepts. Or you can do a combination as you get more advanced. You put all that together and we got a basic sentence. Now, do you see how that's an evolved form of word analysis? Okay. I'll come back to how we can use this with AI after we go over. We're almost done. Now we're going to do an advanced form of articulation. What we're going to do is we're going to come up with 3 really good reasons. For each reason, we're going to come up with a simple universal theme, and we're going to use that to go to the script of The Wizard of Oz. I want a quote that deals exactly with that universal theme for one sentence at the beginning of the script. I want one at the end. I'm going to take those 2 sentences and put them together. That's your data. From there, we're going to create our topic sentence. Now, have you ever noticed when you were in grad school that going from the topic sentence to your data, it didn't flow very well? Have you ever thought of applying a warrant to a body paragraph? Okay, do you know what a warrant is? This is a central point to the craft of research.
Okay.
It connects a topic sentence with the data by answering a how and why question.
Okay.
So it flows much better. And
Yeah.
now if you don't use it, you will be arrested. That's just a joke. Okay. Now that gives you the basics for an advanced paragraph. We can do that for the other 3. Now, how can we use this to go and help us do something in the real world? So what I want you to do is you work with some clients in this area. I want you to think of a client, change their name to protect their identity. What's their maiden name?
Their made-up name is David.
David. What does David want to do? What does he do for work where he's having some issues with AI?
Unsure of how to use it in a way that's not causing harm, like
Okay.
to help him to be productive.
What is it that David does generally?
Works in financial services and operations capacity.
Okay, so what does he generate all the time? Because usually in knowledge work we generate reports.
Yep.
What is it that he produces all the time?
It would be like executive summaries, dashboard reports, those types of things.
Okay. Give me something very specific. What specifically does he have to do all the time?
I would say executive summaries that give more insight on the territories that he manages, what's going on in there. Are they adopting different products or services that are available through the company? And what's the revenue flowing from those?
Okay. Let's say he wanted to do something to get a promotion.
Okay.
He wanted to bring some insight. Okay. So the first thing that I would do is I want to let people know what's going on in the current landscape. And we're recording this in late April of 2026, and things literally for me change on a daily, if not weekly basis.
Right.
So this is my basic setup now. The problem that I spend $20 a month on ChatGPT. I spend $200 a month on Claude. I only use Opus, okay, and I have Gemini Workspace, okay, but I don't use it much now. I just find I get much better results from ChatGPT. So what you're running into now is Anthropic is holding you back between on Eastern time from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. You're given much less limit because they've run out of compute. They got a $40 billion deal with Google they just signed, but it's going to take a while before this comes on. So how do you stop getting throttled and not have to work at night? Because they're all telling me this. So I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Number one, here's the thing that you need to be able to do besides anything else. You have to know what it is that you want, and you have to know what correct looks like instinctively in your bones. You need to just look at it and know if it's correct, and if it's not correct, what the problem is. If you can't do that, if you're at the beginning of your career, have Anthropic do a 4,500 to 5,000 word deep research report. Okay. And then actually read the whole thing and then use that as a model to go against. And you do that for 6 to 12 months, you become somewhat senior. You can
Mm-hmm.
keep your job. For those of us who know what we're doing, I'm assuming David knows what good looks like
Yes.
for whatever he's doing. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go into Chat GPT 5.5 extended thinking. And make sure you can clear this with your boss. I know about 60% of us do it anyway without saying it, but make sure it's cleared. Okay. Spend the $20 a month. It's $5 a week. You can afford it. My goodness, this won't even fill up half my gas tank now. So what I would
That's
do
true.
is I would go back to ChatGPT and say, here's what I'm looking at. This is what I want to do. What are your thoughts? And it comes back really quick, even with the extended thinking. If it takes a couple of minutes, let it. I usually do about 3 things at the same time. So once thinking, I'm doing other things. So it comes back, you go back and forth until you're happy with what you're looking for. Then what I would do is I would say, I want you to look up how to write an effective prompt for Claude Cowork powered by normal Opus 4.7. You want to use that exact phrase, normal Opus 4.7, and tell it to go write up a prompt. And then stick it in Cowork with whatever documents that you need. Now it'll produce something. All right. And this takes a while. That's why I'm doing like 3 at one time. When it's done, I will then put it back into ChatGPT and I'll ask, how did we do? And I say, give me a succinct summary. And I want you to divide this up on a 1 to 10 scale. I want you to divide it up into different pieces. And it'll tell you. Then you said, I'm not happy with what happened because this is not what I asked for. I need you to find out why this did not work. And then figure out, do intense internet research you can make a better prompt. And this will take 5 or 10 minutes.
Yep.
Okay. Then you'd say, look at what you created line by line and tell me everything that you want to change to the smallest detail in an exhaustive narrative. The key thing is an exhaustive narrative. It writes it out. Then you say, okay, you now know how to do the prompt. Create a prompt that I can copy and paste easily that does this, and it'll go do it. And then you run it again. I'll do that about 3 to 4 times. All right. And at that point, it's going to say it's pretty much done. Then I'll tell it to make every change it still wants to see made, and I'll go back to Opus. Now, just so you know, I don't use Sonic. It's a piece of crap. I use Opus 4.6 extended thinking. And you're probably thinking, what do you mean we got 4.7 out? It has adaptive thinking, which means I can't force it to think the way that I want to. I use it in Cowork because it's superior on longer range tasks. Okay. So I go back to 4.6 extended thinking. Now, when 4.8 comes out in a couple of months, probably another 75 days after this one came out, then hopefully this will be resolved, but who knows? So then I'll say, here's all the changes that it wants. I want you to make sure it's all those changes are done, and it will. Then I create 3 modes that I custom created. The first one is what I call catastrophic mode. And what you can literally do is just go into Opus and say, this is what you're looking for. What you wanted to do is to review documents and look for things that we catastrophically missed that really should be in there. Okay. And you want to write it out and have it saved in its memory. Remember, you got limited memory. Then when it comes up, I always say, look at this with fresh eyes. Tell me up to 100 problems that prevent this from being published. Tell me exactly how you want to fix it and make surgical corrections. Then get me a new draft and I'll have it do it one at a time for the first 3 passes. Then I'll tell it to do pass after pass, each time looking at it with fresh eyes, surgical corrections, until it has 3 passes with no corrections. If you do that at the beginning, you're going to be stunning yourself. Okay. Then the next one I call is called maximum correction mode. Look for anything that remains that really does need to be corrected. And then it'll go and do that. And I do the same thing for that. Then I'll do full polish mode. And that's where you look, it's like a copywriter looking for every little detail. It's the same thing. I do 3 passes, and then the last one I do until done, 3 full passes until everything's done. Then what I do is I will then take it, put it back into ChatGPT, and I'll tell it to make it a professionally typeset document. Because it just does it a lot. It's a much deeper thinking model the notebook by 20 points now. Then I would ask for a cover document. I would ask it to create a cover document because now ChatGPT's image creator blows the daylights out of Google's Nana Banana, whatever it's called. It's so much better. Then I put them together and I send that out. And people say, wow, that's a lot of work. Yes, but when I send it out, people are saying I was at 85, now I'm getting more towards 90%. And a senior human will look it over and make some changes, or I will just let people know I'm dyslexic. There may be some 10% issues here. I edited the hell out of this thing and I send it out. And they're like, this is good work. It's not a work, it's good work. And for the things that I need to send out directly, people are happy enough with that, knowing my background. But the key thing that you have to understand is you have to know what good looks like. So for the guy you mentioned, I would have him just read over everything and he's going to know where there's problems. And then he has to go back and tell the AI, whatever one he likes, I gave you the general process to fix it. Okay. But remember, I'm doing like 3 documents at once. Some people are saying, whoa, I'm doing 10 things at once. I'm glad for you. You're one of those 50X people. And I know that's not a joke. I'm not you. I can't sustain that level. I do 2 or 3 at a time. And if it's something really important, I will just focus on that. But you know how long it takes to write? Like give you an example. There was the guy that runs Podmatch, one of the founders. He last December or January did a podcast that he's before about 12 minutes on how to find sponsors. I went through this process and I created a book that was a little over 60 pages, which I hand out to podcasters for free. And it walks them through how to do this. All right. Is it something I could sell on Amazon for $50 a book? No. But it's a really good basic book that if you do any published book, what I'm finding, because I'm writing another one, the editing is insane. But podcaster I sent it to said, I finally know how to go and find sponsors and walks them through the whole process. All right. And I knocked that out in a day and a half while doing other things. Okay. And when 5.5 came out, whew, I had it all edited up and then I gave it to 5.5. And it was at the time, it was 11,000 words. And then 5.5 found 24,000 words of problems.
Oh my gosh.
And then I had to redo it all over again.
So when you go through this process, you go through with that one document you're working on or that one topic, all of these pieces going back and forth in one setting versus coming back to it later.
I will sit down and I will work through it until we get things done with ChatGPT, and it basically says it's done. And then I move it over to Claude, Opus 4.6 Extended Thinking, until that's done. Then I move it back to ChatGPT to get it professionally typeset and get the image on it. And I'm doing that with 3 things at once. Okay. And I just constantly click between the 3. And then if there's taking forever, like some of these do, I will do some other work in between times. I'll do phone calls or whatever and knock some of those out or knock out some emails or whatever. But when I'm running through all that, what this will do is it just allows me, people say they've never heard of this level of editing. But I also want to avoid this thing called hallucinations. So you go through all this with 2 separate models. What I'm finding is when people go through the work, after going through this, they make some changes and they send it back. But to do one of these documents beforehand would have taken days to do. Now you can knock it out and get it right within 1 day. And when it comes time for you to sit down and do the editing, the heck with the other stuff, just let it run or it'll be there when you get back. And then tell it what changes you want. Some people prefer ChatGPT. I would have to say most of the time for writing, I like Claude better. All right. But when it comes to deep thinking, you have to figure it out what it is by just playing with it.
Yeah.
All right. And people are like, you're spending $220 a month on this. I said, yeah, but I'm doing the work you have no idea how much work I get through. Because every time I turn around, my business coach is sending me more and more work to do. And I got 2 assistants. And but we're doing the work of three of us are doing the work of probably 20, 30 people sometimes. It's insane. And we're just getting this stuff out there. But that's the general flow. Now, could this change next week? Absolutely. I had one of my clients, he just started work. And then he calls me 2 months later. And I said, okay, here's how you do it. He said, wait, you said totally different 2 months ago. I said, yeah, it changes on a daily to weekly. I literally, when I say I spend a half an hour to an hour a day on AI, that's 7 days a week. On vacation, I'm doing this. And I can't keep up with everything that's going on. I pick the major things, figure it out in my workflow and tell other people. But what they're saying is when they looked at that level of revision, like one of my clients, gen ed, not dyslexic, wanted to know how to use AI, was afraid she was going to lose her job. So she started doing this, got permission to buy her own stuff. And yes, she paid for it out of her pocket until they found out how productive that she was. And then she started she could actually make the corrections on her own. And she started turning a report after report. And her colleagues were getting really angry at her because she was literally 5Xing what they were doing with better quality. And she was actually taking longer lunch breaks because I showed her a little secret. They now have this thing called dispatch. And she would set up things and actually be like around a pool of water, that fountain she could have. And she just told dispatch what to do. So she became much less productive. That brought her down to 5X. And they did start laying people off. She was not one of them. She actually went and told other people, recruiters, that she was looking for another job. And she got another one, and they gave her an increase in salary by 80%
Wow.
because she was that productive.
Yeah. That's what I think some people will listen to this and think about going back and forth between some of the tools and thinking
Mhm.
it sounds like it may take a long time. But when you talk about being more productive and the percent increase in how well it's written versus how you started, and the number of things that you can do versus one person trying to do things more manually, it's well worth the effort in putting in and learning these different tools and how to do that.
Yeah, but here's again, you have to know what good looks like. You
That's what I
have to
even
know
wrote
what
that
you
down.
want.
Yep.
If you don't and you're starting, this is key. Everything you do, run a deep research report. One thing that got me is there was this really influential AI consultant. Went into a room with senior people that supposedly were AI experts. Okay. And he said, when you're doing something unfamiliar, how many of you run a deep research report before you do anything? And they had two people raise their hands. Two. Okay. Here's my thing on it. If a report is that important, I'll run a deep research report on a section. I'll do even a deep research report per paragraph. And if
Right.
it's that important, I'll do a deep research report for each sentence for a critical piece. And people are like, what do you mean? I get to know the subject matter really well. You can do advanced psychoanalytics and what people are looking for. And I
Mhm.
have done that. I have shown that to some of my clients. And they said people walked in, they're like, that's exactly what was in my head. How did you know? And they got the business because literally she spent 2 days on one paragraph.
Wow.
Okay. And that was a $10,000 sale. May not sound like a lot of people, but when you're just out of college and you get a sale like that, they
Mhm.
notice. So my whole point is I don't care what happens to AI. Just know what generally is happening. These AI chips are not AI chips. They're for video games, which they're originally designed for. An AI chip isn't going to be the size of your fingernail. It's going to be the size of a dinner plate. Supposedly, they're coming out in 2029. And they're going to be really inexpensive to cool because all that's going to be on the chip, the size of a dinner plate. It's going to be in orders of magnitude higher. And if you don't understand how to use this properly, yeah, it's going to be very hard to be a knowledge worker. But if you follow what we're telling you how to do this, and you know what good looks like, and you know how to communicate it. I'll tell you the truth. I don't. I know the essence of what a prompt is. I have no clue how to write a prompt. I can have ChatGPT 5.5 extended thinking do it, and each time try to do it better. Okay. And I get the result. And remember, my base writing skill is that of a 6-year-old. I have a hard time switching it up to grad level again because I had a concussion 16 years ago that really causes problems.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So I'm doing this. I'm sending out a lot of stuff of what I do is, let me tell you, give you an example of the most advanced student I'm working with. His name is Grayson. He's not dyslexic in the least. He's a 99th percentile student in math and in science. Grayson wants to get his PhD, work for NASA to terraform Mars.
Wow.
Okay, now have you published?
I published my dissertation, I published journal articles,
Yes.
things
You
like
know how
that.
you
Yeah.
have to get past a desk review, and then it'll
Yes.
be when you get to a reviewer, they will reject it for a comma being out of place. So, as a professor, I want you to imagine because I met another podcaster who's on the board of directors of one of the top 10 technical universities. Imagine the board of your college called you up and said, there's this kid I want you to meet. And the kid comes in and he's in a journal in your field, in your expertise, and he got past desk review, but got rejected with a laundry list of things that need to get fixed. Might you be interested in working with that student?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. How old do you think Grayson is? He's on the young side.
I want to say it sounds like maybe early high school.
Grayson's 10.
Holy crap.
Okay.
Wow.
I have to reduce these journal articles to the 11th grade level for reading, but the
Mhm.
content's at the second year college level. Everything that I create is based on journals. Okay, so what I'm just showing you, that's how far we go. It's not just for
Right.
so now, where is the hang up that's going to allow you to use AI effectively? The hang up is in the problem statement. Okay. So you remember when you're doing a problem statement, it has to be good enough of a problem so that when you solve it, it actually matters. It
Mhm.
actually moves the needle forward. And that is the single biggest problem I find hard to teach people. Because once you have the problem statement, then you just go and solve the darn thing. All right. But how do you come up with, do you remember how hard that was when you were in grad school?
Mm.
I'm going to tell you a really easy way of doing it. All right. So what we do is when I'm doing this with students like Grayson, is we're coming up with what they need to learn. I have them read the document the first time, they just read it. Then they read it the second time, they start circling things they don't know the answer to. And then they read it a third time trying to answer those questions. Where they are at the end of the third time, those remaining questions, we then create another document. And then when we're doing a peer reviewed journal, the AI is really good at finding where the holes are. We eventually guide them to where the hole is, to where they're wanting to go until they eventually match.
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that's at the most evolved level. In my opinion, peer reviewed journal articles are about the apex, the top of intellectual writing. Is that about your view? Okay. Now
Definitely in the
let's
top
look.
journals. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, that's how professors are graded. So now, how do we, in a business context, look at what's going on? So let me give you an example for what I did. You're not going to believe the economics of what I ran into. So let's just look at this from a business problem and see how we can use AI to fix this crazy mess. So the biggest problem in dyslexia is K through 5. So if the school would bother calling Yale, okay, and say, how do we test for dyslexia in kindergarten? They will tell you how to do it. Okay. 40, $50 a kid. Once you find out, they have all these research-based programs. If you follow those, at the end of third grade, the kid has an excellent chance of passing the reading and writing test in any state. Because K through 3, we learn to read. Fourth and above, we read to learn.
Mm.
Okay. If they fail that test, it is an academic emergency. And the solution is to go to a private school, like the Windward School on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. They have a 98% success rate. They take the kids in. There's educated as the best private schools in the world for 4 to 5 years. and they send them back. That's $75,000 a year for 4 to 5 years,
Holy
with a
cow.
student to teacher ratio of 4 to 1 to 5 to 1. Okay. Now, that's it. Everything else doesn't work. Okay. So when I had to look at solving a problem, I like to visualize it. One of the ideas with AI is take your problem, go to 5.5 extended thinking, and ask it to create a visual problem. So when I looked at this, again, this is dyslexia. I looked at this and said, if the gen eds are great back here and the dyslexics got nothing going on, essentially, but the front part's 2.5 times overactive, why don't we use that 2.5 times? Okay. And that's word analysis followed by articulation. How do I know that? Because Yale tells me. Okay. So when I was looking at solving this, I said, okay, let's do it that way. My state ran into this problem. One of the head of the head of our Senate Judiciary Committee's daughter was dyslexic. He found out in 4th grade, and now she had to go to a $75,000 a year school, and her neuropsych was $8,000. And he could afford it. He's a Rhodes Scholar and went to Harvard Law School. Okay. His name is Brad Hoylman Segal. Okay. And they said, if you came to us in kindergarten, this is cheap. This is stupid. So then he got a task force of the 49 best people in the state to come together, and they studied the program for a year. You understand that New York State that we do things more than anybody else. Period. We spend more per student than anybody. And the solution was 18,000 new teachers, which we can't afford. Okay. So then, now do you see this seems like an insurmountable problem? You're in the state of Ohio.
Yeah.
What if I told you I taught a state of Ohio mom how to fix this for her son at home?
I would totally believe it.
Okay, let's just a quick story of what this was, just so you can see how this is my thought process. So you guys can do this. His name, I met her from Facebook. Her name is Kimberly. She's a religious homeschooling mom with some college, using traditional methods. The state of Ohio, she spent in December of 2024, $700 to have the state of Ohio test her kids. 4 performed brilliantly on reading. She did it with traditional methods, like way high, super high. But Reed, her dyslexic son, did horrible. He scored in the 11th percentile in reading, 4th percentile in writing. All right. So she's really concerned. So I met her a couple weeks after they had that test. And I said, okay. I worked with her for half an hour a week from December 27th through beginning of August. And she worked with Reed for an hour and a half a week for that time period, about 8 months. And most parents do 10 to 15-minute sessions. When she was done, over the summer, Reed's friends wanted him in public school to be with him socially. So if she jumped him from 11th percentile to the 22nd and 4th to the 8th in 8 months, do you think that would have been pretty good progress?
Yeah.
That didn't happen. He was tested in a public school, much better data. He would still have been placed in special ed away from his friends, unhappy kid. His increase was this. He went from the 11th percentile in reading to the 64th. His writing went from the 4th percentile to the 65th. His grammar went to the 97th percentile.
That's incredible.
As of April of 2026, he's in all mainstream classes, getting generally A's and B's. His mother solved in less than 9 months what trained professionals couldn't go near. Okay. So just to give you a quick understanding about what the biggest problem is, I want you to think of, does this make sense? A bunch of elementary school kids writing a bunch of randomly placed misspelled words. Nobody has any idea how to fix this. Okay. Do you know any dyslexic students now or at any point in your life?
I think I have, like loosely, not
Okay.
intimately.
Tell me make up a name for one student and tell me their speciality, what they're really good at, what they're really interested in.
Say Andrea.
Okay. And what was her speciality? What was her area of extreme interest and ability?
Like subject matter?
That could be anything. It didn't have to be
Okay.
school, but something she was really good at, really interested in.
I would say like the social aspect, having friends and things like that.
Give me something more like ballets, running,
Oh, okay.
hockey, comic books, Legos, horses.
I would say playing volleyball
Okay, so volleyball.
involved
Okay.
in cheerleading.
All right. So let's go ahead. And this is how you quickly teach her. What I want you to understand is I want you to learn how to get an aha moment. Okay. But you want to get an aha moment. So what you would do to teach her this is you pull out a laptop computer, not an iPad, not an iPhone, and certainly not handwriting. And you would type out hero plus sign, what are we talking about? Then we're going to swap out hero for what's her name again? Made up name? Andrea. So we got Andrea plus sign, what are we talking about? Then we go to a list of 10 things she really likes and 10 things she really doesn't like. First thing, what she really likes is cheerleading. All right. So now we got Andrea plus sign. What are we talking about? We swapped that out for cheerleading. We got Andrea plus sign cheerleading. See
Mhm.
how I got there? Now I'm going to try to fool you with two of the simplest questions you've ever been asked. I give this to 7-year-olds. These are not trick questions.
Okay.
If you answer exactly, this will work. If not, you're going to get really confused and then have an epiphany in what dyslexia really is.
Okay.
Please know what I'm trying to do is to get you in an epiphany.
Okay.
An AI can help you how to follow these steps. Okay. So we got Andrea plus sign cheerleading. We need to swap out the plus sign for a word. Here's my question. Does Andrea like or dislike cheerleading?
She likes.
Okay. Now give me the 3-word sentence.
Andrea likes cheerleading.
But that's not what I asked. Starting to get a little confused?
Yeah.
Let's try it again.
Okay.
We got Andrea plus sign cheerleading. We need to swap out the plus sign for a word. Does Andrea like or dislike cheerleading?
Andrea likes cheerleading.
But that's not what I asked. Do I have you nice and confused?
You do.
Okay. So let's show you what happened.
Okay.
Back, you're supposed to process this in the back part of the brain.
Okay.
Okay. I asked, does Andrea like or dislike cheerleading? You automatically added the S to make it a proper sentence. Andrea has nothing going on back here. She doesn't know how to add the S.
Oh, so Andrea liked cheerleading would have been
That's exactly what I asked.
okay.
Now, do you see how you had the epiphany?
Yes.
AI can help you do that once you follow. Okay. So here's what I then explain on what's going on. We're looking at the back part of the brain. She doesn't know how to add the S. You could send her to the Windward School in 4 or 5 years, they'll fix everything. But you have an extra $500,000 sitting around you could give to Andrea for her education. Most of us don't. So here's how we fix it using modern science. So then we would flip over the front part of the brain's 2.5 times overactive. Word analysis followed by articulation. So now you have to simplify it so people can use it. So what I would say is, I would ask Andrea to do this. You go, Andrea, like cheerleading. Then I say, Andrea, we have to apply word analysis to fix this. Read that out loud again. Does it sound generally correct? She's going to say no. I'm going to say fix it. Andrea likes cheerleading. We practice that with the other 9 likes and 10 dislikes. Do you see how that's a simple form of word analysis?
Yes.
Then we're going to go because reason 1. Give me a simple reason why Andrea liked cheerleading. Because she looks cute in your uniform. Do you see how we have a whole mess of misspelled words and bad grammar? So we ask her to read it out loud. Does it sound generally correct? Keep going until it does sound generally correct. Now you got the horrible grammars going. You're left with simple stuff and medium stuff. You know how to deal with that, right? Okay. Now that's workable by a Gen Ed teacher. Then spelling you think is a hard problem? It's not. We tell her to read it. We tell her every time she misspells a word, she has to retype the entire thing. Every time. She'll do it 3 to 13 times. She will focus really hard, more and more until she gets it correct. We do that for the other 10 likes, another 9 likes, and 10 dislikes. We keep the same reason, add another reason, do it for the other 20 sentences until everything's perfect. And then we keep those 2 reasons and add a third reason. Okay. At the end of that, they're writing decent grammar, correct spelling, decent grammar. But their reading has improved because if they can write it, they can read it. See how I got you that aha moment?
Yes.
So you can take that framework and figure out with Claude 5.5 extended thinking, how can I use this to make it so simple that I can get the aha moment in your presentations? Now you got people's attention. And do you remember the more advanced stuff I showed you before?
Mhm.
Word analysis followed by articulation. Try to take the issues that you're having, make it visual with Claude's new image generation, and see if you can just see the obvious connection. Because
Right.
people miss it all the time. Then you just have to simplify it and make it usable again and again. How did I know this was going to work? Because this is like my 255th or 56th podcast I've done in the last year. I just keep going on and trying different things until each part of the speech, I know what's better. I know what to expand, what to contract, depending on who the audience is.
Yeah. This has been amazing. Thank you. I'm a little speechless.
That's where I try to leave you.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm trying to think of, let me check real quick. I want to see if I have any other questions for you.
If I didn't blow your mind at least a few times, I don't think I
I
did my
know.
job as a podcast guest.
I think you have done quite well. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, in wrapping up, anything that you'd like to share, just in summary, to
I gave
listeners?
you guys a lot. People generally go
Yes.
back and re-listen again and again. What I want you to leave you is don't be afraid of AI. Understand what good looks like and how you need to fix it. And if you don't, do those deep research reports until you eventually do. It takes at least 3 to 6 to 8 months, 6 to 12 months. Okay. Once you can do that and you show how effective you are, I want to give you some general statistics on this. This came out a couple of weeks ago. This is just one company survey. There are 3.1 jobs for each person out there that really knows AI. And it takes about 146 days to fill, and they're generally paying $200,000 to $400,000. Mind you, they're going to have your nose to the grindstone. Okay, this is not your 9 to 5 easygoing job, but it pays really well. And then once you've proven yourself, your company won't pay you what it's worth. Oh, there are so many other ones out there that will. Okay, so once you get good at this, remember, I keep up with it on a daily basis. All right, and you don't have to be up on every little thing. Just go through what I've generally shown you, and you will be okay.
Yes. Yes. And I will tell you, I was even more stuck in Chat GPT for the longest time. And then I started to realize how valuable it was to start playing back and forth with
Hmm.
different tools. So getting into Claude a little bit more now. I've been in another tool. And then I also use tools where you can use AI functionality. So I have Chat or Claude build me the prompt once I get to the point where I have enough information to put it into another tool. And it's so much better than just using one tool. So
Oh,
that has it's
absolutely.
been
And
amazing.
you're a PhD. You are the ultimate of knowledge workers because you're out there adding knowledge. Now, if you had to go and redo, let's say you just wanted to publish again, how much easier would it be for you to do it with these tools?
So much easier. I think the battle with thinking about, because I often think, what if these tools were available when 13 years ago I was working on my dissertation? Some of the challenge I have is thinking about how do I make sure I'm using them in the correct way without cause any kind of, I want to say, plagiarism or using AI's words versus my own words. And I know there's a lot of debate on that kind of thing. So trying to figure out what's the right way to use it. And I know there's authors out there who don't like the fact that people are using AI tools to write books and things like that, but I see the value in being able to enhance what you have or to help you brainstorm what you have. So
Well, let me
using
give
it
you
in
an
the right
example
way.
with the book. Okay.
Mhm.
I wrote my book that's coming out in a couple of months. It's called If You Write, You Can Read. It's about Kimberly and a few other things. And what I did is I actually drafted it out completely with O3 Pro at the time. Then I hired a ghostwriter from Fiverr, one of the Fiverr choice ones, and I sent her the manuscript. Instead of doing the long interview, she actually had a draft there. And then she rewrote it completely. It looked nothing like what I sent her. Then I sent it to a much more sophisticated, intelligent review ghostwriter who did the same thing. And then I worked with Evelyn Whitebay. She's one of the 3 teachers on the dyslexia task force. She's the master teacher. Her kid went up 6.6 grade levels in less time than Reed did. Okay. So then she rewrote it with her people. And then we got a good editor who's now told us we have to go back and redo the whole thing because it's not just, she's very picky. Okay. The base is there, but you know how hard it is to write a book. So then we'll have it done by then. Okay. But it's really good to get the draft out. What I think AI is, it's really good to get you that first draft.
Yes.
But then as a professor, tell your audience what it's like to go from a B paper to a solid, really good A+ paper. How much more effort is that?
Usually it's not a whole lot in my eyes.
No, you get a perfect A+.
Get a perfect, it can be a lot. It depends on the
Yeah.
student. Yeah.
Okay. But if you could start off with a B paper in a couple of hours and just get past the drudgery. Now, when I have to go and get things confirmed, that's what employees are called. I just send them off to them. Why do I trust my primary assistant? She's a PhD candidate. She's done all her classwork. She's doing the research project. So I send her off to the library all the time. Drives her nuts, but when it's important, she double checks everything. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a lot easier to double check than to create it.
That is true. Yeah. Not starting
And
with a
if you
blank
leave the
slate.
judgment up to the AI and you don't know what good looks like, we
Mhm.
have a term for that. It's called AI slop. And it's everywhere. When I edit it as much as I do, it comes out, it's not AI slop, but it's B plus, maybe 90% is where I'm getting close to now. And as I said, I let people know ahead of time, this is what they're getting. I'm dyslexic. I literally can't do what you do. But when they look at the work, they're like, yeah, this is good work. This meets for what we're looking for. And if it really matters, yeah, they said somebody to go and make some minor corrections. That's how good I get it with these insane editing things that I do.
Yeah.
But if you just do it on a first draft, oh, what a piece of garbage you're getting.
Yep.
So just re-listen to this multiple times. Take the general framework I gave you, get a transcript of this, send it into ChatGPT or Opus or whatever, and figure out those general ideas, especially if you can figure out just visually what your problem is. And then find the simple solution like I did, and like I showed you how to get an epiphany. You do that, and it matters, and you made it simple enough so people can use. And people are like, "Why are you giving away so much of this on podcasts?" I said, "The most thing we do is we take people through how to actually submit a journal article that gets past book desk review. These are just small little pieces. I come up with new stuff all the time. Another advantage of being dyslexic."
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that when you talk about knowing what good looks like, because that is the truth. Like thinking about even when I go back and forth in a lot of the different tools, it's you have to know where you want to. It's almost like that. I think it's Franklin Covey was start with the end in mind and knowing what that good
Yeah,
looks like.
but really simple, like with the financial guy you were mentioning. He can just look down. Yeah, that's good. That's not good. And then if you ask him to explain it, it's really freaking hard. So how do the juniors learn how to do this?
Hmm.
You go and run the deep research report on freaking everything. Now, ChatGPT is going to limit you to 40 of those a month for the $20 a month plan, or the pro ones are 400. I use Opus all the time, and I have it do deep research reports. I like theirs better. I got ChatGPT to get me up to 25, 30,000 words sometimes, but I found 4 to 5,000 was generally about the optimal amount. And then if you're new, I tell my kids to read it. I'm 52.
Hmm.
They're in their early 20s. They're kids. So they read it, they learn. And then I said, you keep doing that. And they said, yeah, this is hell. One of them said, okay, I've been doing this for about a year. And I said, do you know what good looks like? Because she got promoted to a team lead. And she said, yeah, it needs to be this, and it needs to be changed. Then she went to her boss and he said, You're about 80% right. You missed this 20%. Here's what it needs to look like. He's, okay, you've been with us for about a year. That's pretty impressive. You better check until, because we can't ship anything that's not perfect.
Yeah.
But again, because she did that, she, again, was able to keep her job. Now, what most smart companies are doing is they're not firing everyone. They're just trying to do 5 times the work.
Right.
They're doing things that they could never imagine before. That's what the smart ones are doing. Because a lot of times they'll try to give it to a customer, turn this into a customer service ticket, and then they got people angry and they got to rehire the humans. That's happened so many times.
Russell, this has been invaluable. Thank you so much for
Thanks for having me.
expertise, your experiences that you've had, for teaching us so much. I appreciate that. And if anyone wants to get in contact with you or learn more about you or connect with you, how would you recommend that they do that?
Best thing to do is just go to dyslexiaclasses.com. That's with an S, Dyslexia Classes. There's a form there that says download free guide. Just answer 3 questions and set up a time to speak with me. It's a half an hour. It doesn't cost anything. It has nothing to do with dyslexia. Don't worry. I do it all the time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And for everyone who's listening, this is one of those episodes that you're going to want to listen to several times. I love Russell's recommendation to get the transcription, put it into a tool, ChatGPT Claude, and get some more insight and information. Thank you again, and we will catch you all on the next episode.
Thanks again for listening to the Technically Human podcast. If you are navigating a career shift or you're just feeling like something needs to change, remember you do not have to figure it out alone. You can find tools, strategy, and support inside the Compass. Learn more at www.careercompassusa.com. And if this episode helped you in any way, sharing it with someone else might help them too. I'll see you in the next episode.